It's 10 days to go before Nigerians formally head to the polls. The much-awaited general election gradually building up and gaining momentum as we await February 25, when Nigerians will cast their ballots to elect a new leader. The political intricacies that have trailed the countdown to this year's election has been nothing but superb and almost dramatic. We'll do our bits to keep you up to speed with all the latest developments as it concerns the countdown to this year's general elections. A very good morning and welcome to another edition of Political Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Spectrum Television. I am Raymond Ater. But don't forget, you can always watch us on StarTimes DTH Channel 421. And for more feeds, just simply head to all of our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. For more, just go to our website and search spectrumtv.ng. The countdown to the polls, as we said, continues, although it has been largely characterized by events that were largely unplanned for, most of which have impeded the efforts made by every single party concerned, including Nigerians, to ensure a smoothness, seamless and feasible conduct of this year's polls. We may not dwell on that today, but a keen focus on the gladiators once again who have escaped our eyes in the past few days and weeks, as will seem to ascertain how vital political conversations are in the lead up to the elections. There's been a lot of talk about some political parties and their candidates shying away from real-time conversations with the masses and would-be voters in the lead up to the polls. So on burning issues later, we'll be ascertaining how vital political debates are and whether they should be made constitutional. But let's begin our program today with a regular roundup of the day's biggest news stories and events, and that's on the political update segment. And we begin with the news that President Muhammadu Buhari has again met with the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, at the State House in Abuja. Yesterday's meeting, which was held privately, actually marks the third in a series of recent meetings held between the duo, and it's ostensibly targeted at discussing the current currency swap situation. Godwin Emefiele, who was seen leaving the president's office, actually declined to speak with reporters about the details of the meeting. Well, since the redesign of the currency with the deadline for swapping old ones, the development has been greeted with controversy, as it has occasioned some level of hardship on Nigerians and equally raised fears about the possibility of holding the elections on the scheduled date. Now, several states have also dragged the federal government to court over the deadline for the currency swap, while the Supreme Court had equally ruled on the matter, urging the federal government to stay hands on further implementation. Well, staying with the President Buhari has sent a warning to the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, and the leadership of the Nigeria Police Force that he will not accept any excuses for any lapses in the general elections due to commence with the presidential polls on February 25. Now, according to the President, his expectations of them in respect of the provision of requisite security ahead of the 2023 general elections is high. Now, the President made the call yesterday at the Force Headquarters in Abuja as he commissioned critical operational assets procured by the Nigeria Police Force. President Buhari equally commended the IGP for advancing the police reform agenda of his administration and for the several initiatives he has brought to the force, but reminded him of the expectations. And he, however, said the expectations were in relation to the provision of requisite security that will engender not just a stable security space ahead of the elections, but also guarantee the credibility of the entire exercise. The President reiterated the centrality of an efficient and responsive police force in strengthening of democracy, as well as the essence of the police reform and re-equipping agenda, which his administration has vigorously pursued. Let's move on now. The Director General of the Obi-Datti Presidential Campaign Council, Akin Oshuntokun, has refuted claims that members of the Labour Party in the Southwest have defected to the All Progressives Congress (APC). He expressed worry over the spate of fake news on the Labour Party and urged media houses to always check with the party to clarify any information. Now, while emphasizing that the reports were fake, Oshuntokun also said that all of the names purportedly listed as members who defected to the APC were not known to the party in the zone. Now, he expressed concerns that people choose to accept false news on face value, saying the press should not encourage such misinformation. Well, elsewhere, the Atiku Okowa campaign organization has blamed the attack on Nigerians in its Lagos rally recently on suspected thugs, whom they said were acting on the instruction of the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu. A spokesperson for the PDP campaign, Kola Oladigbodiyan, stated this in a statement released in Abuja yesterday. Now, according to him, Tinubu decided to attack Nigerians in Lagos and other states because they refused to support his ill-fated candidacy. Oladigbodiyan opined that the attack was an inexcusable attack of violence and showed that the APC flag bearer was now grasping at straws. Well, the PDP noted that Tinubu, who seems frustrated by the outcome of his campaign, has now resorted to violence. Speaking further, the Atiku Okowa campaign said they were not shocked at the gimmicks employed by Tinubu, maintaining that he was trying to derail their party's electoral process because he has been rejected. But the campaign further went on to claim that Tinubu refused to sign the first National Peace Accord because he had certain ulterior motives. Staying with the APC, the director of new media for the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Fani-Kayode, has appeared before the Department of State Service, DSS, where he apologized for raising alarm over a coup d'etat in the country. Was speaking to newsmen yesterday in Abuja shortly after being interrogated for 5 hours by the DSS, Fani-Kayode admitted that he should have been circumspect before going public on the issue. Kayode, who is a former aviation minister, described the situation in the country as similar to a war front because, according to him, the nation was presently on the political front. Well, he noted that no one is infallible, but said the country needed to be careful with the truth when it comes to issues of national security. Fani-Kayode said that the coup alarm had raised shockwaves across the polity, saying that his action was aimed at drawing the attention of security agencies to be on the top of the situation if there was any iota of truth in the matter. Now, back here in the States, the gubernatorial candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, Senator Basi Albert, has promised that the 5 local government areas of Oro Nation, comprising Orefon Oruko, Udunko, Mbu, Okobro, as well as Oron, will be linked with a good road network if elected into power. The lawmaker made the pledge yesterday while addressing his supporters in Orefon Oruko local government area during the second phase of the YPP Walk Toward Governorship campaign. In a virtual address to his supporters, he said his government will activate the beach and economic activities to re-engineer economic life of the area, as well as embark on a massive development of roads and other rural infrastructures, including the construction of the Ukuku and the Ukotai Road. It pledged to also offer scholarship to the people, stressing that if as an individual he had produced about 500 graduates, then as governor he will do more, as education under his watch will be given due attention. Now, keying into her husband's plans for the people of the state, the wife of the YPP candidate, Simabong Alberts, also advised the masses to assess all the candidates seeking their votes and decide who will serve their best interest, noting that her husband was the most qualified of all those currently seeking to lead the state, and urged the people to vote for him. We're keeping tabs on all of this development as the lead up to the polls continue. Don't forget, it's barely 10 days to go before Nigerians head to the polls to cast their ballots for who will lead the country for the next 4 years. But most of these presidential candidates appear to be shying away from public interfaces. And it begs the question, should political debate now be made constitutional? Kingdom Eyang, public affairs analyst, will join us after the short time out to bear his thoughts on the issue, and that will be when we come back from this break. Stay with us, Political Spectrum will return.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the principles of pluralism and ensure equitable airtime to all political parties or views. All political programs shall adhere to the general principles of legality, decency, and truthfulness. For the avoidance of doubt, the broadcast of a political campaign, jingle, announcement, or any other form of partisan party identification or symbol ends not later than 24 hours before polling day. Hate speech is prohibited. Be professional. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer Management.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
Lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll bring in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. Many thanks indeed for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum and we're live on Spectrum Television. Don't forget, you can equally be a part of the conversation by going to all of our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. Just search spectrumtv.ng on our website for all the live feeds. Well, let's go straight to the day's biggest story. With 10 days to go before the conduct of the first of the two general elections we are expecting in the country, Nigerians, of course, are preparing keenly to cast their ballots to take part in the polls. And before now, the build-up to this polls has been largely dominated by, of course, political intricacies, political campaigns, rallies, as well as direct interfaces that the political candidates and the parties have had with would-be electorate in the lead up to the polls. So it begs the question of how vital these elections are, or how vital these interfaces are. Well, in the course of the program, we'll be hoping to get in touch with Kingdom Young, who is a public affairs analyst, and we'll be bearing his thoughts on this issue as we go on. He's equally, of course, the project officer of the Grassa Chat House, which is modeled after the famous Chatham Grass House conversation, which of course gives political parties and their candidates opportunities to interface with their would-be voters ahead of the polls. How vital are these interfaces, and more importantly, should political debates be made constitutional? Let's see, of course, if this is vital to lead up to the polls. So stay with us. We go for another very short time out, because when we come back from this break, we're connecting directly with Kingdom Young, who will be joining us virtually to bear his thoughts on this issue. That will be when we come back from this very short time out. Don't go anywhere.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back, and many thanks indeed for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. And now it looks like we have Kingdom A join us live virtually on Political Spectrum to talk us through the day's big story, which is centered around our countdown towards the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections, the first of the two major polls that we've been anticipating this year, 2023. Political parties and candidates have been leading up to this polls with several forums and interfaces with would-be voters, while some have actually shied away from doing so. And it's begged to question whether or not political debate should be made constitutional or not. Kingdom Ian joins us live on Political Spectrum. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on the program today.
It's a pleasure, Raymond. It's time to be here live and direct with you.
Thank you very much as well.
Thank you very much as well.
Let's get straight to it now. You have been at forums such as this as one of the project officers of the Grasser Chat House, which is equally modeled after the famous Chatham House in London, where you give opportunities to political parties and candidates to interface with their electorate and would-be voters to canvass for their support in the lead-up to the polls. What we've seen in the Nigerian political space is that some parties and their candidates tend to shy away from conversations such as this, dwarfing the importance of having to speak with the electorate to try to convince them and inundate them properly with their political programs and manifestos in the lead up to those polls. I'd like to start by asking, how relevant do you think these interfaces are that people should have to, have direct conversations with people that they hope to lead, and equally have a debate with their political opponents in the lead up to the election? Some say it's not so important. What is your view on this? Do you think it's vital? Do you think it's something that should be equally made constitutional? Or do you think it's something that we can't just wish away?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Just to refresh, it looks like we lost you a short while ago. Let me just quickly summarize that. How relevant and important are political debates?
Very, very quintessential, if you ask me. It is very important. Preparations for the 2023 elections in Nigeria, which is, of course, 11 days from now. Okay. Now, the present candidates have all provided us with their manifestos, which highlights different visions for Nigeria and its people. Now, if you check out these manifestos which they've provided us, it is more or less like a pact with Nigeria. Okay? It's like, okay, entrust us. Let us go in there and save you. Okay? And then we are asking for a thorough bisecting of your document policy, so we will know whether we could really entrust you with what you are asking us for. Of course, if you check the statistic across the strata, 3 leading presidential candidates so far have been, called upon to appear on different platforms to dissect their policy statements. Petobe have been availing himself on almost all the platforms. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar had actually attended some. But then we know that the candidate, APC candidate, presidential candidate for the APC presidential candidates have had the track record of avoiding, these debates, which are very quintessential to, the candidates, the electorate getting to knowing what you have for us. Let me bring you a very clear, pinpointed explanation. On August last year, when the Nigerian Bar Association organized a presidential debate, okay, the APC presidential candidate, shy away from that debate and send in his representative, which is not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be. If you're asking us to entrust you, we are handing you our rights and privileges, and we are asking you to come, let us dissect what you have for us, and then you are shying away. So to me, these debates are quintessential, are very, very important, because gone are the days we allow people in the street, down in the street. There should be that relationship between the tongue and gowns. There should be a dissection of your policy statement. If your intentions are true, you should come. You should be litmus. We should be able to put you on a scale, ask you questions, which is very relevant to the situation we are finding ourselves today. No, every Nigerian know that we are on life support. The economy is on life support. So if you have a policy statement which you've actually adumbrated, highlighted, pinpointed, bring it out. Come face to face with the electorate and then explain to us how you're going to, execute these plans that you have for us. So debate, to me, it's very, very quintessential. It is not just important, it's high.
Well, it looks like we may have lost the pictures to Kingdom, but we finally have him back. I did grab that point where you said this debate are actually quintessential, vital and important. But when political parties and candidates equally have opportunities to talk to their supporters at campaign rallies, as we've seen in the course of the electioneering period, some of them have said that is enough. I mean, the essence of these rallies are to convince the voters in their large numbers. So is there any essence of having to stand side by side or shoulder to shoulder with political opponents of other parties to address the people when you already have the campaign rallies, which takes a tedious amount of time and resources to pull together, going ward to ward or state to state as the case may be? Some of them say that is enough. We do not need another debate where we have to stand beside our political opponents to inundate the public about our manifestos.
It's hard to be very frank with us. When you talk about political rallies, campaigns, and all of that, do the electorate have the opportunity of asking these people who are gunning for a very sensitive portfolio? Do they have the privilege? Do they have the opportunity of asking them critical questions that will emanate to giving them critical answers that will give us results? The answer is no. At campaign ground, you don't have the privilege, you don't have the opportunity of asking questions that are able to liberate us, questions that is able to open us up to knowing how you're going to solve the problem that we are facing. See, Nigeria, over 200 million people, we are facing so much already. So you dancing on the mediocrity of campaign ground is supposed to be enough, when you know that 80% of the constituents of your campaign ground are your supporters. So, I mean, what do you expect? Do you expect your supporter to quiz you? Do you expect your supporter to ask you critical questions which you will be shy away from asking? No. So, I mean, it is a dance of mediocrity to say political campaign is enough. No, it's not enough. It is never enough. And again, let me put this in very clearly. Remember when we invited Right Honorable SMA Yibo for Grassa Chat House, the invitation was not just solely for a particular candidate. We spread our invitation to other aspirants or to other candidates in the Eket Federal constituency. And then most of them shied away. Of course, Remonita, if you had watched the event of the Grassa Chat House, which we had, SMA Yibo was drilled and asked questions on how he's going to reposition the Eket Federal constituency. Because if you ask me, Eket nation as a whole, I mean, I don't need to be quoted, has been neglected. And we quizzed him question for 3 hours. And again, the constituents of that meeting, Grassa Chat House, was drawn from the 4 senatorial districts, 4 local government areas, to include Eseleke, Tuna, and Ibono. And these people came in and they asked them, they bore their minds. They asked him 2 questions. How are you going to solve problem? How are you going to fix it? He made some promises in which we held.
Well, we apologize for the quality of the line. These are all down to network and technical issues. But looks like we have Kingdom back. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello,
go ahead.
you
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you. So you could see the instance of the Grassa Chat House which we had. Right Honorable SMA Yibo was drilled, was asked questions, which he provided answers. And again, this also enlivened our, our recruitment process, leadership recruitment process. Because if you're putting yourself out for leadership, I mean, you should be ready. You should be prepared.
All right, so let's get now to let's get now to this.
Campaign grounds and rallies, campaign grounds and rally and all of that should be. No. That to me is a dance of mediocrity. It shouldn't be encouraged. If you ask me for that, I would say that presidential debate, especially, should be enshrined in our constitution, because candidates who evaluate appearing for debate of this kind, should either be excused from the campaign. There should be a consequence for shying away from campaigns like this, because he's showing to the Nigerian people that you're not taking them serious.
Well, I'd like to put this across to you very quickly. Here in Akwa Ibom State, we recently had a gubernatorial debate which pitched 5 of 7 invited candidates who are actually scheming to become governor of the state against each other. While we know 2 of the major parties in the state, the PDP and the APC, did not turn up for that debate, there were 5 others. Now, some of them posited that that debate did not allow them enough opportunity to reel out their programs and manifestos because they just had too many persons to debate with. Compare that to, say, the United States presidential debate, where in the U.S., you only have the 2 major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, running against each other. So it affords both candidates an opportunity to throw questions and tantrums at each other, provided they're able to properly inundate the public about what they want to do. So most candidates in this side of the world have resorted to town hall meetings where questions are directly aimed at them and just them alone. So is it a question of finding a soft ground where you can properly have in-depth access to the people to answer questions directly, as opposed to just standing side by side with a political candidate or opponent from another party? That seems to be the headache or the fix around these public interfaces. What's your thoughts on this?
Mr. Raymond, if I get you very clearly, like the state Gobe debate that we had, some weeks ago in the state, I'll tell you, yes, we could talk about the issue of time frame being a problem where.
Seem to have again lost pictures to Kingdom Ear. We have to apologize for the quality of the line there, but looks like we have him back again. And just to rephrase on some of the things we have been saying so far, whether or not political debate should be made constitutional as we lead up to this year's general elections, after concerns from some quarters that political parties and candidates have been shying away from attending such debates and interfaces. Kingdom Jones is back again on Political Spectrum. Hopefully you can hear me. Just go ahead with the point you were making.
Thank you very much for having me back. Like I was saying, yes, time could be a constraint. And for a good candidate, like what happened in Akwa Ibom State governorship debate that we had, time was of essence. That notwithstanding. But then this shouldn't nosedive to the fact that candidates should go organize their own peculiar town hall where they screen people who are coming in to ask them questions. They send out IV, and then the IV is strictly by invitation. And again, that should tell you the motive of such town hall meeting, because the motive of a town hall meeting is to clearly dissect what the problem is and the way forward. So now, for example, like the one that was had by PDP, People's Democratic Party in the States, they had a town hall meeting, for their Gobe candidates, and they restricted it. They made it strictly by invitation. I mean, that should again tell you, what are you afraid of? You are going for a very important portfolio representing the people. We have about 6-something million people in the States. Okay. We are not saying that the event should accommodate everyone, but why the strict invitation? Because the essence of debates and town hall meeting is to be able to dissect your blueprint. Okay, you should be able to open up yourself. You should be vulnerable. Yes, you should be vulnerable to the people you want to represent. We should be able to ask you questions up, down, right, left, center, and you should be able to provide sufficient answer. I'm not saying that you should be able to provide all the answer, but there should be an attempt. There should be a sincerity of purpose So by the time you shy away from public debates of this kind, where we have other candidates who are going to level up with you in the contest, okay, it shows that there is a skeleton in the cupboard. Now you could draw a pattern where the incumbent political party who have a candidate like what we have at the national, the APC candidate shying away from debates. You come to the state, the PDP candidate shying from debates. I mean, they're telling the people that, look, we don't need you to interface with us. We are winning already.
What about the position? What about the position of those who feel, as a political candidate vying for a particular office, you may have the required knowledge or the requisite knowledge to handle the technicalities required of your office, but may not be blessed with the gift of the gap to probably inundate people about this. So some would say it doesn't really matter if you have to stand out there to talk to people. What is more important is the fact that when you get into office, you know what to do. So are these debates really relevant? If you have a candidate who you know, when you vote him into office, will likely address the concerns of the people, but may not be so good or blessed with the gift of the gap to address people publicly.
Mr. Raymond, the issue of debate isn't actually about eloquence. It is not. Highlight your PowerPoint. Highlight your blueprint. Tell us how, and the question of how you want to fix it. It's a very simple one. It doesn't require you to be an orator.
Well, the APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has mostly been criticized for not being eloquent during most of his campaigns and rallies, but his supporters seem to say he has the answers to the questions of Nigeria's problems, and sometimes, to the best of his ability, he's tried to say, these are the things I hope to do when I become president, but it appears Nigerians are judging him based on his eloquency. Yes, you said this political debate is not about being so eloquent when addressing people, and I did say Nigerians seem to have judged most candidates based on their eloquency and how they speak or address the public. Take, for instance, the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It doesn't seem to be someone who's very good at speaking publicly, but there are some who agree he perhaps has the answers to most of the problems Nigerians are facing, and his supporters maintain, give him the chance, when he goes in there, he will address the problems of the country. But you've seen most of his rallies and campaigns. It doesn't seem to be a very good public speaker. So do you find that as a problem? Do you find it worrying?
There's a concept called by Brent Brown, bullshitting. When we talk about bullshitting, when you've not gathered data to back up your fact about what you're about to establish, I believe that's bullshitting. I mean, bullshitting when you say, oh, Nigerians are actually judging the fluency of this candidate based on how fluent and good they are with the art of the gap. No, that's not it. Appear for debates. Put out your blueprints. However you want to pinpoint them, let the people let the people be sure that you know what you want to do. Well, I think, which I don't really want to sway into, that the matter of the All Progressive Party candidates. There is something they're trying to conceal from the Nigerian people, which they do not want to say. Yes, because I mean, it gives room for doubt. Okay, how come you are very fluent when you go out for campaigns? You throw tantrums and all of that. When you go for an organized town hall meeting, you could address the people, which are basically your supporters. How come? How come you could avail yourself?
All right, that was Kingdom Ian talking to us a short while ago. Again, we've been having some serious technical issues owing to network connections today. But looks like we have him back again. We might just have to continue with the conversation. You were making a point a short while ago about the question I posed a bit earlier on, how important or how relevant these debates are if the candidates know what to do. And I'm judging that based on the comments you made earlier on, that it's not about eloquency. But if you have the capacity to address an issue, does it really matter if you can stand in front of people and, you know, display fluent eloquency or be a good public speaker? Nigerians are not looking for who's going to speak big grammars in English. They want someone who can address the problems facing the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raymond. You see, this thing, when we talk about linguistics, I read linguistics in my first degree and my master's level. Okay, there's something we call langue and parole, which is performance and competence. A leader should be able to communicate his vision. A leader should be able to translate the communicated vision. If you cannot communicate eloquently your vision, how do you persuade followers to follow in you? As a matter of fact, it is something we can't really do without. And that's why the issue of public debates, if you could check out way back when 1994, South African presidential debate, when Nelson Mandela was on the ballot. I think that is when they started theirs. I'm not too sure about that data. Okay? Public debate is very important. It is very, very important. You should be able to come, allow yourself to be litmus by the people. Let us have an idea of what and where you're taking us to. You can tell us that you're burdened with vision, plans, objective, and goals for the people, and you can communicate it. Again, do you know communication has nothing? It is not restricted to just verbal communication, gesture, attitude, body language, and all of that. All of those encompass communication. Okay? You can highlight your point and come out and enumerate them. We need you to convince us that you're competent, you have the capacity, and then you have the character to take this country from the point where it is now, which is life support, to where we are hoping to be.
Well,
and how do we get to interface with you? How do we get to know your makeup? How do we get to know your mental capacity if you do not open yourself to these debates?
Well, interesting. I like to put this point across to you because the theme of this conversation, first off, is whether or not these debates should be made constitutional. Should it be mandated by law that candidates must appear in a political debate alongside their respective opponents before heading to the polls? Now, drawing our attention to certain provisions within the Constitution that persons who have as little as their first school living certificate, can actually be eligible to take part in an election, raises concerns and question as to whether or not it is vital or important that they should be blessed with the gift of the gab or fluent or eloquent. And we're bringing all of this into perspective because we've seen most of the persons jostling, vying for the nation's top seats ahead of the February 25 polls. We had to pinpoint the candidates of the APC, by the way, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because a bulk of his presidential rallies in the lead up to the February 25 polls have been largely laden with public gaffes that many have said are quite unpardonable or unbecoming of a man who wants to be president. These are the burgeoning concerns that we perhaps look at. So if the provision of the Constitution says, as long as you have your first school living certificate, you are eligible to, pick up a form and contest for the highest office in the land. Just how many persons are so blessed, with that fluency, all the gifts of the gap to be able to address people publicly? Does it really matter, provided when they know that they can actually attend to the needs of the people, which is the very reasons that people go out to cast their votes on election day for good and credible leaders, and perhaps not necessarily their educational qualifications. I mean, the entire 2014 and including the 2019 polls were largely dominated by questions and question marks surrounding the educational qualifications of President Muhammadu Buhari, with a lot of persons doubting whether or not he had attained certain qualifications that were accrued to his resume. Well, it looks like we have to go for another very short break. When we come back, we're hoping to re-establish contact, by the way, with Kingdom Iya. We lost him a short while ago, but we're wrapping up on the conversation after this very short time out. Please stay with us.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the principles of pluralism and ensure equitable airtime to all political parties or views. All political programs shall adhere to the general principles of legality, decency, and truthfulness. For the avoidance of doubt, the broadcast of a political campaign, jingle, announcement, or any other form of partisan party identification or symbol ends not later than 24 hours before polling day. Hate speech is prohibited. Be professional. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer Management.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
In the price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, by independent marketers in Akwa Ibom State, has necessitated calls for concern by the residents of the state.
Transport fares in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, have soared to 100%, as long queues resurface in fuel stations, rising fears over fuel scarcity and hiking pump prices. This says that commercial tricycle operators hitherto charge 50 naira or 100 naira have doubled. A distance from Ibom Plaza to Ikodipene Road, hitherto charged 50 naira, now cost 100 naira. Same with other distances which were 100 naira, now 200 naira, an increase of 100%. Similarly, a trip from Ibom Plaza to Akwa Ibom Transport Company Park in a minibus, which used to cost 100 naira, has been increased to 150 naira. This is said to be the result of the hike in fuel pump prices, now 300 naira per litre. Tricycle operators, popularly called keke, now charge between 500 naira and 700 naira for a drop, as against 300 naira before the fuel scarcity. Some respondents says that passengers have no option except those who wish to walk down to their destinations.
Before, from where I'm living to Secretariat, I used to pay like 100 naira, but now I have to pay up to 250 before I can get to my office. Going back, then I used to pay 200, but now I'm paying 500. It's too much on me. Okay, I'm returning my children to school on Sunday. Now, I used to pay like 500 to 600 to where they are schooling. Now I'm going to pay up to 2,000.
From here to Economy Man, some drivers are collecting 150 naira, some are collecting 100 naira.
Meanwhile, aside from NNPC mega stations that sells at the approved pump price of 180 naira, other independent marketers sells at 270 naira per litre, some 300 naira per litre, and this has affected the price of food items. According to some respondents, the government has not increased salaries, but food and fuel prices keep increasing.
The distance that we were paying 50 naira before is now 100 naira. The one we are paying 100 naira before is now 200 naira. Some will even consider you to collect 150. And yet, they've not increased salary. Most people have not been paid. So where do you expect people to get money? Before people leave their house now, they have to consider whether where they are going to is important or not. If it's not important, they stay at home. Watch out the road now. How many people are there? Today is working day, but how many people are plying the road? Very few, because there's no money. The money they are paying for salary is not even enough for feeding, not to talk of transport.
Most of them, they have not increased their pay, and things makes life very, very difficult.
You see, everything is hinged on the fuel and transportation. So because of the hike in fuel, it has affected the transportation of both human and goods and services. So because the traders having to buy their commodities, they have to transport it at a very high rate. Coming out, the end result is that the buyers will suffer the brunt for it. So even commuters, a place that was normally charged between, the fare was maybe 100 naira, is now tripled to 100, 200, 300 like that. So it is telling on the poor masses. And the cash crunch on the economy is very biting.
According to reports, the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has sealed a total of 13 filling stations in Akwa Ibom State for dispensing petrol above the approved pump price. And also, the state government had earlier said that a monitoring team will be introduced to begin station-to-station inspection from Tuesday, January 3rd, to ensure that marketers who had access to the 1.5 million litres of petrol given by the state government comply with the directives of government to sell at approved pump price. Meanwhile, residents still complain about the operations of independent marketers in relation to the fuel hike and solicit government intervention to checkmate the activities of the independent marketers with an effective task force.
If government is not aware of it, they would have sent task force to all the filling stations to go and find out from them or arrest them while they are selling above the normal pump price.
So let the government rise up, let them set a task force committee that will go to the filling station and check if the fuel price is normal. Everybody is selling at the same amount. So this one is selling 300, this one is selling 500, this one is selling the way they like.
They don't sell it the normal price now, they sell it 350, 320, some even sell it 360, 370. So they should look into this thing and make sure say everything go back to all normal. They say they will bring out task force to be moving from one filling station to the other to look the fuel price, but I don't see. There's no task force that is going about checking all those things.
Was it last year or last 2 years that the government said they are going to send all the filling stations, they started selling at the normal price. Those that refuse to sell at the normal price, they shut down. But now, go to all the filling stations up till, as at this time here, are talking now, they are still selling at the rate of 300. Some are even selling 330. I bought 330 yesterday.
We are buying at a rate of 330 in some outlets. Some we are buying at 350. So we are appealing all to the authorities, the NPC, the government at all levels to intervene and get this issue resolved for the best interest of the public.
To the independent marketers to look into it and do something about it. Because the beginning of the year, every other person knows that beginning of the year is very hard and it's always hard.
The continuous increase in fuel pump prices has resulted in fewer vehicles now seen on the roads, as few private vehicle owners and commercial vehicle operators cannot afford the product. Consequently, some passengers resort to trekking, while many have moderated their movements due to the high cost of transportation being experienced in the state.
Yeah, now some people, you see queue. Minibus is queuing here, no passengers to carry. Because now before you go to places, you calculate. You not just go to a place that
people are suffering, most especially common people are suffering from the transportation. We do collect, formerly we used to collect 100 naira from Plaza to Ekoim and Junction, but now we are collecting 150. Then short distance we are collecting 100 naira due to the high price. Before we used to buy it 200, one something, but now we buy it 300, 320, depending on the station that we are going. So that is how we go about it.
Meanwhile, Mfonobong Nathaniel has considered falling back to the use of bicycles as a means of transportation, while other residents lament on the subsequent effect of fuel hike on school resumption.
At this point, transportation is hard. Because right now in my mind, I'm thinking of how to save for a bicycle, like hello. Because like that's the next thing. Because we are being pushed into a corner right now. That's going to be the next best thing out there is your bicycle with your 500 naira lubrication oil always in your bag, right? The fuel price has increased, has affected the cost of transport drastically, and so much. Like from point A to point B before that was 50 naira, is now 100 naira, it's double the price. Right?
My fear is that school will soon resume. So how about students from very poor homes whose parents will not be able to afford the high cost of transportation, so that it will even affect the educational sector negatively. So it is something we didn't dream that Nigeria can come to a point in time that a liter of fuel will sell for between 300 and 320 naira.
School where one start, how children go take reach school? Where go be say they go fit obtain classes? Because fuel is scarce like this. To come put food, come put fuel, some parents go decide say make their students stay home. Where we say no go good.
Transportation actually is bad. It's bad, and if you see, me, I heard that fuel has been reduced, but they're still selling for the price they are selling. From here to the junction, the drivers will collect from 150. Before we normally used to pay 100 naira. So let the fuel price to come down, so that to be good for the Nigerian citizen and everybody.
Long queues are seen at the mega filling stations, with cars and trucks sneaking several meters. Residents of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, solicit with the government to commence station-to-station inspection as promised.
I am Esther Otoyo. Enjoy the rest of our programs on Spectrum TV.
Welcome back. Many thanks indeed for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television, and it's the last line of the program. We sincerely apologize for the quality of the line a short while earlier. We had to give room, of course, to our technical crew to set things up. And we have Kingdom EM back, but this time live and over the line to, of course, complete a wrap-up on the discussions we had earlier on. Kingdom, welcome back. I hope you can hear me clearly this time.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Okay, thank you and welcome back. So we're wrapping up very quickly, so I'll just take you through to the course of the last line of these conversations, which is centered on the overall question we asked earlier on now. if we have to constitutionalize political debate, what steps do you think should be taken in that direction? As much as we've outlined reasons why some candidates tend to shy away from conversations such as this, organizations and outlets such as yours, Chatham, Grasser, and the rest of them, have equally done their bid, to try and bridge the gap between the electorate and the candidates. But what more needs to be done to ensure that it is something that becomes a norm every 4 years when the elections do come around?
All right, thank you very much. I think I've gotten you clearly. You see, like I mentioned earlier, that of course we might not have a codified requirement to attend such this debate, but then how the law can help. A law to require attendance. You see, the most compelling way to ensure that candidates attend debate is to include it in our laws. The law requires that candidates attend debate to explain to citizens their plans if they're elected or risk disqualification. By doing this, candidates will be unwilling to contravene because, of course, it's an established law. Now, however, candidates attending debates, have always done it, because it is an unwritten law. But by the time we have it enacted in our law, it will be compelling. But it is important that citizens know why they are, relinquishing their rights to these people. The people who intend to make up the government owe themselves a show of commitment. So, of course, like what is going on in the body set up for organizing presidential debates, just like the U.S. Commission on the presidential debates, a body can be set up to carry out the duty of organizing debates. And this body has to ensure neutrality. Okay? For example, this can be easily done by the Independent National Electoral Commission, our INEC, or some other responsible body empowered by law. Of course, paragraph 15F of part 1 of the 10th schedule to the Constitution empowers the INEC to monitor political campaigns and provide rules and regulations which shall govern the political parties. Of course, since INEC has the inherent power to conduct elections and ensure a smooth election process, adding a unit responsible for conducting debates may be very instrumental. So, Mr. Raymond, if you ask me, it is not a big deal. This can be done.
Okay, on the last line now, in the face of all of this, how ready are Nigerians for these polls? I mean, we've had a lot of time since the political primaries of each of these parties sometime last year, which saw to the emergence of these candidates, and then INEC opening the floodgates for campaigns and rallies since October last year. And the lead up to the polls this year have unfortunately been dominated by non-electioneering matters such as fuel scarcity and the scarcity of the Naira note, occasioned by the Naira redesign policy. It's 11 days barely to go before the first polls come around. How ready do you think Nigerians are after all we've heard from the parties and their candidates in the course of the campaigns, the interfaces as the town halls and the debates? Do you feel Nigerians are truly ready to go to the polls and effect the change that they have been clamoring for? All right, looks like again we're still having the technical issues getting through to Kingdom, and we may just have to leave it there because we're absolutely wrapping up at this point. But should we need to revisit the matter, we might be glad to do so. But just to rephrase on some of the points he made earlier on, he had, of course, touched on the fact that the political debate should, as a matter of fact, be made constitutional, and he agrees with that position as well, although some would say it might require some piece of legislation on the part of the National Assembly on both floors of the chambers, be it the Senate or the House of Representatives, to compel political parties and their candidates to debate on this issue. How will this be organized? I did throw light a short while ago on the recent gubernatorial debate held in Akwa Ibom State, organized by the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and the reasons why most of the candidates excused themselves from that debate as opposed to turning up for a town hall meeting where they felt they were afforded an opportunity to directly respond to questions thrown at them by would-be voters, as opposed to standing on the same stage with a minimum time allocated to discuss with most of these candidates. Well, these are issues we'll revisit when next we do come your way, but we're going to have to wrap it up here on today's edition of Political Spectrum. Many thanks indeed for joining us, and thanks to our guest, Kingdom Iyang. In the face of the network challenges, he still managed to pull through to bear his thoughts on this issue. Political Spectrum returns tomorrow. Join us again if you can. Meantime, enjoy the rest of the day's broadcast. From me, Raymond, Ita, and the rest of the crew, thanks for watching, and bye for now.